Well, first of all, I think this is funny. Thanks, everybody, for putting together the questions. I went over them. They're pretty fun and diverse. My twin brother and I were about 11 years old. We were at a family thing at Mission Bay. All the family was there, 17 cousins, and we couldn't swim. And one day he and I walked on the beach. There was a boat out in the water, and I said, "Hey, let's get in the water and see if we can go swim to that boat. You want to try?" He said, we don't know how to swim, right?" I said, "Yeah, you want to try it?" So we just did. We just took off and started swimming. I have no idea how we made it, but we barely made it to the boat, rested, and went back. Oh, I was married to you. We must have had a child. I was driving home and I saw a little kiosk in a parking lot of a market that sold flowers. And I had $5, and I thought, I'm going to buy Buckwheat some flowers. And I walked in, and there was a car there, but there was nobody there. And it was a little tiny thing. And I looked around, going, hello, and I keep looking out, hello. Nobody was there. And I saw these big, giant 24 roses, super expensive. And I looked around, and I saw this guy's feet. And I went, oh, he's dead. I said, hello, hello. And I kept yelling at him. And he didn't wake up, so I stole his flowers. Brought them home and gave them to you. And you go, where did you get these? And I said, oh, that was easy. So I was a youth pastor. We were renting a house. I had our van, and you were gone, and I had the 3 girls, and we parked on the side of the street, the van. And so I was getting the girls out, and the sliding door opened, and I put my head in, and I was reaching for one of the girls, and a typical dad thing, I was going to fart. And so I just let out literally the world's longest fart. It was so long, I thought it was going to pass out. It was just, and the girls were shocked, and I thought they would be laughing. But their eyes were this big, and they were looking past me. And I turned around, and the neighbor lady was right behind me. She came to borrow a ladder. I couldn't recover. From my family, my dad was the funniest guy ever. He never met a stranger. All my uncles, they would get together and just laugh and laugh and laugh. All of our family reunions were awesome. So I picked up on it, but my twin brother didn't, so I don't know why. It was fun. My brother and I had a lot of fun. My oldest sister, was 7 years older, and so she was like an extra mother. She was bossy, and so we didn't have a relationship. And then Lorna, because of her issues with her legs, she had rickets and she had surgeries. So I was probably closer to her than I was to anybody. The first date, you were the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. You were the tallest girl I'd ever dated. And you had the biggest lips of any girl I ever dated. And I kept thinking, wow, I wonder what those would feel like to kiss. The one I'm with. I love my daughters. I really wish I had 2 more. I wish I had 5 girls. They're fun. They're fun to be with. They're all uniquely fun. They're interesting. Yeah, they're like, they don't know it, but they're like my favorite friends. Oh, I would want them to know and trust the Lord. It is the most incredible advantage in life. It gives you peace and joy. You have purpose. You have church. You have family. You will never be alone. You have things to do, a purpose. It's just, yeah, I would want them to know God, Jesus, have intimate fellowship with the Holy Spirit, and it's just life-changing. Get fat with each other. And there's a statement that says after the age of 25, we each gain a pound a year. That's hardly noticeable, right? But 25 years later, you're fat. So the FAT stands for forgive. You have to forgive each other all the time, because you're both sinners. You're going to go through it. There's no perfection. It's not supposed to be perfection. The A of getting fat is absorbing. We have to absorb sins. And I will tell you that the greatest change in our marriage is when we discovered we did not have to bring up each misstep or misargument. We could look at each other and just go, I know she loves me. She woke up this morning loving me. She's the only person that truly loves me. She has my best interests. And so I'm just going to absorb her sins. I don't need to correct her. I don't need to bring it up. And it changed our dynamics. And then the T in FAT is you make each other thrive. When we accept Christ, we die to ourselves and live for the other. And the greatest joy is making your partner thrive. She's first. Well, I fell in love with Jesus' teachings, and so it was easy. I just couldn't get enough of it. He's the creator of the earth. He's my creator. He's genius, and it's like having a genius walk around with you all the time, whispering in your ear things to say, things to do, things not to do, and it's just transformational. And I remember when the guy was first teaching me, it was at our house, and I put my arm around you. He left after 3 or 4 weeks, and I told you, I said, if I ever believe what he's trying to teach me, I couldn't help but want to do that for a living. That's the most important thing I've ever heard. And probably 8 or 9 years later, yeah. I think you do, but I'm like the apostles. Where else would we go? Right? So I think sometimes you do, but it's never bothered us. We've always tithed. I mean, when we think of all the money that we've tithed, we could retire easily. I mean, people would think we were nuts, but I couldn't have spent that money and gotten the life that we've got. Did you just put that in, or did somebody actually? Grandma doesn't think so, but she's got a great sense of humor, which is needed around me because she laughs. She recognizes humor. She loves to listen to her children laugh. And she's a servant. Not she, but you. You're one of the greatest servants I've ever seen. You've got the gift of hospitality. So somehow I don't even think we grew into our giftedness in ministry. We just, all of a sudden, we're using everything that God had already planted in us, and it was all natural. And you've been the absolute most genuine pastor's wife. I just love your depth of love for your children and your super crazy love for your grandchildren. No, it was an Opel Cadet. It was the lowest rank of all the classes when you race. So right after me is the fastest cars on earth, and they'll go 500 miles an hour in the quarter mile. I went 71 miles an hour, but I held the world record in my class. And I had a friend that his father-in-law was a manager of Simpson Buick, and he sold me this Opel Cadet, and we jacked it up, put headers on it. It weighed like 1,200 pounds. It was actually really fast. I held the world record. That's after going backwards. I love what happened. So when you're on the drag strip, you have a starter, and he's going like this, and there's a trip light. You're going up, and he's going, come this way, come this way. And then he says, stop. I had gone past the line, so he says, back up, stop. And he says, you ready, you ready? And then he gets behind his back, and he pushes a button, and it's called the Christmas tree. And there's lights, and they go red, 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 green. And you just take off. He took off down the track, and I went backwards because I was still in reverse. The windows were up. I could hear the whole, and they're there for the big dragsters. I could hear everybody laughing. But I put it in first gear, and I beat the guy at the end of the thing. Rusty Pollock. We just had the most fun. He knew about cars, and he had an old 1940 Ford coupe, sedan, and we wanted to paint it. And so we're kids. We're like 15. We don't even have licenses. And so we painted his car red with paintbrushes, and then we would go take the car and go joyriding when we didn't have a license. Well, we got in trouble. His father found out and took the seats out. So Rusty one day said, hey, help me put the lawn furniture in it. So we got this big wooden thing and got the lawn furniture in and took off and went for rides. So, yeah. Probably high school. I felt really stupid all through high school. But I didn't have anything to push me. Every grade was stupid. I could care less. I failed every grade. Constant fighting with my parents because I didn't even try. I'd have to go to every summer school, and then lo and behold, time to graduate. My brother graduates and I don't graduate. And so I remember having to sit under the stands at graduation. He's graduating. They called his name. It's a small school, so everybody knows Dick and Jack Worthington are twins, but only Jack graduates. I had to go back the next year, the super senior. So it just made me feel stupid. And then I don't know how you gin up any kind of care for grades that didn't make any sense to you. Subjects, so science and history and math. And I go, oh my gosh. So I spent the rest of my life, even till I was about 26. I worked in factories, I was in sales, I did all the stuff, but I always carried around me that I was stupid and I was never going to amount to anything. But I kept trying something. And then when Christ came into my life, I couldn't get it out of my head that I should be doing that. And it's a miracle story. Probably my 3 daughters' weddings. It was like our parenting was a success. Our life was a success because each one married a godly person. And that's like a dream. And I knew they would all be okay. And so it was, yeah. Well, fast food is Arby's, prime rib and lobster. But I love chips and dip. I was with a friend driving in his coupe. There were 3 of us in the car. It was a Friday night. We were in high school, and this was a super souped up, like 1948 Ford coupe, whatever, and it had a huge big engine. And this thing we were flying down a major boulevard in Downey, and there was a little turn in the street, which we knew the street. And we were doing over 90 miles an hour, and the light turned red. And there's no way we could stop. This thing, he tried, and he almost got on 2 wheels, and we went right through the cars. How we made it. I mean, we would have killed everybody, including ourselves. It was so scary. My stroke, for some reason, I wasn't scared. I just had confidence that it was going to be okay. You had a lot of scared for us. I remember laying on the ground and I couldn't speak, or I was trying to speak and I wasn't making any sense, and you were sitting there rubbing my tummy, telling me it's going to be okay. Easy. Writing. I would love to write. Really good. So I've written 3 books, which is kind of an accomplishment for me. So it's one thing to think about writing. What are you going to come up with? You stare at an empty page. How do you start? So it's the whole miracle. Then you do it, and you have no idea if it makes any sense. And then you finally get it published. You have no idea if it's going to sell 1 copy and then I don't know how to promote myself or promote them. But yeah, I was very proud of the fact that I've written 3 books. I am going to write my 4th book on marriage. We're going to do it together in our new little house. What? I would want to time travel back to when we were first married and live our life over with our girls. It was probably the funnest time for me. Yeah, they were just a joy. Everybody says, oh, it'll go by quick. And you go, oh, but man. So I miss those early days. That's easy. Switzerland. Switzerland is hands down the prettiest place on earth. Of all the geographical bucket list places I wanted to go to, it was Switzerland. I never thought we would ever go. And then through retiring and working because of Heather telling us, mission builders, that we could go help and stay in Hawaii for 2 months. We could do the same thing in Switzerland. And we were there for 2 months. And we walked the little villages to go to town, and there were the cows with the big bells and the goats with the little bells, and the scenery was shockingly beautiful. I could go there. I would love to go back. Christian, I want you to look me in the eyes here. Your grandmother, we were married. She had a child, 2 or 3 children, I think, at the time. We were in a mall, and your grandmother wanted me to hold her hand. She says, hold my hand when we walk. And I went, no, hey, I don't want to hold your hand. What are we, 12? She says, no, hold my hand. It would be fun. I said, no, that's crazy. And I could tell you were upset. And she says, come on, hold my hand. So I put my hand out, and you grabbed it, and you threw it down. And you said, never mind. You're not even holding my hand, I'm holding yours. And 3 weeks later, we were walking again in the mall, and I kept thinking, wow, the Lord convinced me that this is something you wanted that was sweet, that would bond us, and it's no big deal. And so we were walking, I reached over and grabbed her hand. And we've been holding hands ever since. It's funny because our fingers fit kind of a weird way together, interlocking. I literally am uncomfortable walking now without you. I'm always reaching back for you. And now at our age and frailties, it's a necessity that we're holding each other up. So it's not about you, Christian, it's about her. Well, certainly my dad and uncles. I just realized how they interacted with people, that they could make people laugh, complete strangers. They were really interested in people. And then I was in sales for a long time, and you have to think on your feet. And I read a book about selling the sizzle and not the steak from the guy who invented Sizzler. And it was a motivational book. And he said, when you go into a purchasing agent's office or somebody's house, you look around and see what they like. What are the pictures? Do they have horses, boats, whatever? Ask them about those. Talk to them about that. And then flatter them. And people will laugh. And so I've just done it forever. And it's the funnest thing to do with waitresses. They work hard. Nobody gives them a break. I always ask them their name, ask them where they're from, just try to compliment them that they're the best waitresses on earth. And it's funny, you just get good service and it's joyful for them. And sometimes you get free desserts. School. Man. You look back on it, that was 5 years of schooling. I hadn't been in school in 17 years. I have to go take the entry exam test to get in the college. There's 5 different levels. I get called into the dean's office, and he said, hey, tell me why you're taking all these hard classes. And I said, well, because I wasn't very smart in high school, and I just want to get them out of the way. He goes, okay, that's not the right tack right now. He says, I've got your high school transcripts. You had a 1-point grade average in high school. So, and you haven't been in school in 17 years, and this is a very difficult college to get out of. And he said, we've been a college since 1923, and you're the only person to fail all 5 levels of the entry exam. So we have to put you on academic probation. I'd quit my job, I was in the ministry, full-time family, full-time work, and now trying to go to school. And I'm writing papers, you're typing them. It was truly a dual person accomplishment. And then later on, we went back 7 years later for my master's degree, and I graduated with Heather at 49 years of age. We walked together. My regret was probably in Hawaii. I read up all about the cultures. I was trying to win them over. And one of the elders, Jack Thompson, was a Samoan guy. Someplace along the line, we became enemies. I regret at this day that I wasn't more sensitive to it. I wasn't more protective of our relationship. One of the things I found out about the Samoan culture, they don't forgive. And it was hard. I regret it. I think I could have won them over. Like a breath that comes out of a person, I would like to be able to speak and people would repent and change and see the beauty of Christ and go, oh my gosh, I've got to accept this. So I think that'd be a cool superpower. Well, I saw it with Muhammad Ali. He was so brash and so arrogant and so self-promoting. That was part of it, but you saw the culture change. But where we became disrespectful to each other, disrespectful to authority, we were afraid of the police, we were afraid of adults, we would try to obey them. And so, yeah, this whole thing with defund the police and the woke culture, it's a terrible place to be. And that's not counting the damage that social media and the phones are doing. It's an evil that nobody predicted. Well, I taught this in Africa. I told the story, and they wanted to show us the school. And so all these African kids were in the classrooms. We were just sitting against the wall, and all of a sudden, the principal of the school, I think his name was Rodney, turned to me and said, Dick, would you come up and tell these young kids a story? What the heck? What story am I going to tell? I need an interpreter. And I told the story about my brother and I. My mother forbid us to play in this house that was being built behind us. And it was just rafters and stuff. We played anyway. And my brother got up on top and was walking, balancing himself going across, and he fell. And when he fell in between the boards. But somehow his head got stuck. And so he was like getting choked. And he was just hanging his feet and his arm. We couldn't get him up. We couldn't get him down. He was crying and screaming. And so I had to go get Mom, go get her. And she was so mad at us. We finally got him down. And my mother spanked us with a big stick. And I was telling these little African kids this story, but it was really animated. And I would tell them the moral of the story: obey your parents and you will obey your leaders. They've got your best interests. They know safety. It was so successful, he wanted me to tell it to every class because they're going to be very jealous if they didn't hear the story. I would tell my grandkids, don't be arrogant. Love your parents. You will never have anybody as smart as them, who cares as much for you, ever. And the great bonding thing that you can have with your parents. So you obey them, it creates such a bonding and love. And follow the Lord. And you're created to help others. Self-centeredness is the cause of depression. It's the cause of suicide. When you think of others, and you give your life to others, that changes everything, including you. It's funny, every stage of life we just went through, and there was always things to do, things to grab, things to accomplish, education, learning, doing stuff. This feels like a loss. Everything else was a gain. This feels, when I was first approached with the idea because of buckwheat, 100% made sense. I didn't want to do it. I didn't think it was time. I think we should wait. I still wrestle around with that. So there's just a tremendous feeling of a loss of. So that's part of it. And then you're going from a 3,500 square foot house to a 900 square foot house. But that's not the loss. We live in 900 square feet, so that's not a problem. And having a fancy house is not the problem. It's always been a gathering place. And I loved it. We've had 1,500 people back in the backyard. We've always, all of our homes have always been used for others. And it's just the greatest thrill in my life to be able to see people have fun and use it. And now I won't have that. We have no gathering place. And so that's a huge loss when you think of 48 years of ministry and 53 years of marriage. So my fear, I don't think it'll happen, but my fear is that in losing that space and place, that it would cause us to just shrivel up and die. So I don't think so. We're going to keep working. I'm going to build a little shed. I told the senior pastor I would do at least 5 more years, if not more. We're going to take vacations and have money. We're going to be able to put money away to protect ourselves, health-wise, in case anything happens. It's a good decision. And it'll be a pretty place if we can just get the CNC machine quiet. You're looking at me, but visually I can see all of you. I can't tell you how much you all mean to me. And Grandma, I just love seeing our grandkids develop their lives and have friends and just do fun stuff and having great mates, and it's a thrill to be able to do all these weddings. And so I'm a very successful man, and I don't mean anything I've done. It's because of you all. My 3 daughters, they're 3 great husbands, and our 8 great grandchildren. You are amazing. You have no idea how much joy you bring to us. And when I was young, to feel good about myself, I had to jump higher than anybody else, run faster than anybody. I had to win all the basketball games. It was very, very competitive. And it gave me an identity. I wanted to be a professional boxer, and I wrestled, and I just did all this stuff. And now I'm in a different stage where I get to watch you. And it brings more satisfaction just watching you in a room. You don't know this, but I'm stalking you. And it's fun. So our prayer is that God would give us many more years to see a full blossom outcome of all of your lives. We love you. You should come over and love me. Good job. That was easy. I like that idea.